Now I'm going to talk about a very specific type of influencer real quick, one that I'm sure we're all very, very familiar with. The kind of guy who, has social media, probably doing fairly well, who makes kind of recycled content about his business, right? He'll do a lot of videos of him sitting in front of laptops being like, this is how I went from, X number of sales to X number of sales in X days and all these things, right? Usually he's got a watch. It's like a Rolex or something. Might be fake, probably is fake, but he wears the watch, he kind of flexes the cars, we all know the type of guy I'm talking about. Very much into the aesthetics of being a wealthy business owner. And I think we all know that if you look at that guy's bank account or look at his business enterprises, he probably isn't doing as well as it says in those videos, right? But something interesting happens, right? At the end of every video, he goes, if you want to be just like me, go buy my course, right? And this isn't the case for every single type of these guys. I mean, I would say it's probably a select few that have been massively successful in this endeavor. But for a great deal of them, they actually end up doing well. They end up having that kind of success that they once preached about through essentially faking it till they make it. As much as I poke fun at these kind of guys, I'm saying this sort of jokingly, I do have kind of a strange level of respect for what they're doing, because I think that this style of content of being like, look what I got, and then not having it, but doing that so much until the point where it becomes feasible when you do have it. This style of content speaks to something that I feel is almost ahead of the curve. And as much as I do think that these courses are overpriced, and I would never buy one myself, as much as I see the issues with this business model and XYZ, I have an almost respect for how out and about they are about being in this trend, about being, we're gonna fake it till we make it. Because I think that's what everything is. I think that's what everything's becoming. And honestly, I think I'm probably the last person to wake up to it. I think we're in an era now where everything has become this, where everything is like, just do the thing, say you got it, until you have it. You'll see people do this with acting, right? You'll see people do this with singing and then everything, People that are willing to do that and like put themselves out there in terms of, I got this thing, or, I'm doing this thing, and just keep repeating it until it becomes true. It's so impressive to me. I really do respect it. The action of just, it's almost like a sort of new way of manifesting, except instead of like putting out into the world so your mind focuses on it, or so the energy comes back to you, or however manifesting is marketed to work, it's just doing it in a very literal sense of like, I am going to repeat this thing and put it into the world until it literally becomes true. I think this is the future. And I'll say I don't even think it's the future. I think it's sort of the era we're in. I think that's where we're at now. I think this is everything. These business guys, and I think it's part of the reason they're mocked so much, are probably the most out and about it. But I mean, all the artists posting on TikTok, myself included. I don't think I'm a great painter just yet, but if I keep this up for 3 years and just keep doing this, eventually I will go from somebody who is doing paint talk in a room and being like, I'm learning to paint, into a painter. Because you can't repeat something again and again without it becoming at least a little bit true. Your identity changes, Same way that like, when you're, a lot of you can probably relate to this if you've ever gone on like a weight loss journey. Eventually you go from being somebody who's trying to lose weight to somebody who is just a in-shape person, right? Like that is a switch that happens. And it's because you identify those habits. You go, what would a healthy person do right now? And you go from being one person to another. The things you do on a daily basis end up transforming your life and transforming who you are, your identity. Oh my God, I'm totally going to misquote this. I shouldn't even try this right now. I think it's Aristotle, though, that said you are what you repeatedly do. Is that Aristotle? Aristotle's got something about habits. I know that guy was thinking about habits back in the day. But the point remains true. That's how things work, right? And there are two sides of this whole thing of like, basically that we're all LARPing our way into being something real these days. I feel like there's two sides of it. The one side is that like, I have a kind of negative perspective on it, on the one hand, right? As much as it's kind of unintentionally what I'm doing here. So I'm a little bit hypocritical in disliking aspects of it. There is a regard in which like everything feels a lot less real now. You know what I mean? As society gets less sectioned off and the business guys aren't just business guys anymore, but they have to be content creators, and the content creators become business guys through, as we've discussed here, LARPing their way into being business guys, and the artists aren't artists, they're people who were able to market themselves as an artist. As all these things become more and more prevalent, I can't help but a little bit be like, I have a nostalgia for when society was a lot more certain and definite. Maybe it's a little bit of implicit nostalgia, or because I've had so many people tell me about the way things were, or even just because in movies things seem so black and white and the world seems simpler when it's black and white. You know, there's multiple reasons why I could think this thing that I think, but either way, it is sort of a nostalgia I have, and I gotta speak to it. I don't know, coming in here and thinking about this topic, I was really debating not even talking about that, just because like, I do overall see this as a positive trend. It's you know, and the whole note I'm going to go on after this is just how much we've been able to democratize everything in our lives, and how I think that's a great thing. But I do need to speak. I'll always try and be as honest as humanly possible in these, right? And I will say that coming along with this thing that I overall view as great comes with a little bit of nostalgia for when things seemed simpler, at least on the surface, and I can't deny that. On the other hand, though, I think this is great because everything is now at our fingertips, you know? Like, there's this thing people always talk about, meritocracy, right? That, like, you're gonna get what you work for. Like, the harder you work, the more will come your way. This is the common thing you're told since you're a kid. And there are many ways in society in which, like, this is not 100% true. And I think we all know that. I think we all know that there's a great deal of luck and where you're born and who you know and, you know, all these things. I think that's just a fact, you know? On the other hand, though, I do think that meritocracy has become more real with the advent of all these avenues where we can just kind of LARP something into existence. If I keep working hard every single day, eventually things will come my way as I put them out there and practice more and more. They'll become more true. And I view that as a great thing. I feel like everything we all want is so much closer to our fingertips than it ever has been before. Just because of this new idea that, like, you can just, and I keep using the term LARPing, but I think it's accurate, you can just LARP your way into existence. I mean, I think a huge trend of this is, like, cryptocurrency, right? I'm not a crypto guy by any means. I know some crypto guys, and at one point I had some NFTs, and I'm ashamed to admit that. I had a friend who I will not name, because I don't know why he was doing this, and I didn't ask questions, but when I was a lot younger, he texted me one day a login to a wallet, a crypto wallet, and he said, "This is yours." I put it under your name, and he had 10 NFTs in there. I sold them all, and I took the money, but I don't know why that was to this day. Made like $10, that was all, so I mean, if he was doing something illegal and I'm an unwitting accomplice to that, then, I mean, man, worst crime ever. Not worth it if I'm going to jail one day for that. But I don't think crypto is even regulated. I don't even know how that works, but I'm not a crypto guy at all. But cryptocurrency, I think, is interesting, at least in concept. I don't really know where it's going to end up in 10 years or 100 years, you know. But it is interesting how, like, everybody's just come together and gone like, this is a currency. We're gonna just act like this is real, and now it is. It only has become, as much as, okay, is cryptocurrency like a real currency in the way that like the dollar or like the yen is? No, nobody's gonna argue that, right? However, I mean, if you look at crypto from 10 years ago to now, it's become so much more real. And I do think that speaks to this new era where you can just pretend something is real until it is. And like, I don't know, is that good? Maybe in the case of currencies it's not. I don't really, guys, I'm not an economist, I have no idea. But in terms of art, in terms of acting, in terms of music, yes, it's real. 100% it's real. There's so many more things that go into this, right? Obviously, when talking about art, right, I think it's great that nowadays musicians don't need to be discovered by A&Rs and they can just put themselves out there on social media and find their own audience. I think that's amazing. I think that's so good, right? There are still other factors that come along with that of like, leisure time comes into it. You kind of gotta like rip your soul apart to work really hard after your job or whatever to become a good musician. Certainly much harder than I work. Trust me, I'm not that hard of a worker at all. And I could never be a TikTok musician. Those guys put way more hours in to oftentimes get zero reward for it. And I respect that so much. I still ultimately think, with all the downsides, with all the external factors, this new age of decentralized talent is such a good thing. I think it's going to lead to, like, I think one day we'll look back on this period of the arts, as much as terribly as I talk about it sometimes, and see it as sort of a golden age, just because of how much stuff there is out there and how much opportunity there is. And I think, like, this is totally in contradiction to a ton of paint talks I've had, because I do have pessimistic thoughts on some things about art, right? Especially in the age of social media, 100%. But I'll never deny the fact that there's still a great amount of opportunity in all this. And I think that's so good, and I think all of us can benefit so much more from thinking about, like, how many things in my life that I want are closer if I'm willing to, like, embarrass myself for, like, 3 years to get there and LARP my way into it. That's just my thought. This is the painting. I wanted it to kind of feel like an uncertain optimism. And I kind of get that feeling. I like it. I like it a lot. There's a painting that I didn't do on Paint Talk, that I did off camera, that I call the Perceiver, and I have it hung up on my desk. And the face is similar to this in it, right? Where it's just kind of etched out. And I really like the look of it, and I think I want to keep trying that. This has way more emotion than anything else in the Deconstructed series. I'm uncertain about the colors, but I like this a lot. I like this a lot, guys. Yeah, go follow on the Instagram. This will be up in the coming days as I post all the paintings from the last week, the Monday after. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice, and this has been Paint and Talk episode 158. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.